Yeah, just a minute. Can you please excuse me just for 1 minute? Need to inform. Nobody should disturb me. Just for a minute before we start.
Yes, yes, yes.
Please, please, please. Thank you.
So, good morning, all the participants, all the students, our young authors who have joined us on YouTube and watching us live. And I welcome Vasudha Makija ma'am. She is the resource person, expert of today's workshop. She'll be taking you through the journey of story writing. Today we are starting with our first workshop of CBSE Budding Authors programs. She is a very experienced teacher. She has a 5 years plus experience in teaching. And we have Shivangi ma'am also with us from Team Freedom. She'll be helping us in the webinar. Before we start, I'll just ask our joint secretary, she'll be joining in a minute, to say a few words, and then Vasudha ma'am will give you a brief introduction about her, and then she'll take over. So, Shivangi ma'am, before we start, I'll just ask our secretary Vasudha ma'am, I think you can just try to start giving your brief introduction. Ma'am is joining in a while.
All right. Thank you so much, ma'am. A very good morning to all lovely children. As ma'am has already introduced, I'm Vasudha Makija. I have been working with Freedom since 5 years. And believe me, it's been an absolute wonderful journey. I mean, reading stories and driving into the world of stories is just wonderful. I would say incredible. And I hope you all will enjoy this journey with me today as we board a flight to the world of stories. So, as ma'am will say, I think then we can start.
Yeah, ma'am. Just in a few minutes.
Sure.
Yeah. So good morning, Swati ma'am. So
Good morning, Nima. How are you?
I'm good, ma'am. I'm good. So, ma'am, Vasudha ma'am and Shiva ma'am are there from Freedom. Vasudha ma'am is the resource person. So, ma'am, before ma'am start, just few words from your side for the young authors.
Sure, Nima. Actually, your voice was very slow, so I could not hear you.
Okay. Ma'am, now you can hear me?
Yes. Now you're audible.
Okay. Ma'am, we have Shivangi ma'am and Vasudha ma'am with us from Team Freedom. And Vasudha ma'am is the resource person expert for today's workshop. And before ma'am starts the workshop, I'll just request you to say a few words to our young authors who have joined us through YouTube, ma'am.
How many people have joined, Nima? Can we have a number?
Yeah, sure, ma'am. I'll just.
Very well. In the meantime, I would like to welcome everybody who's watching us on YouTube live, and of course our experts, Vasudha ji and Shivangi ji, who is going to be taking the session. I am Dr. Swati Gupta. I'm Joint Secretary, CBSE Academics, and with me is Nima. She is the one who has been a part of this mission for couple of years, and with her wisdom we have been able to overcome so many difficulties while rolling out this program. But I'm so glad we are here as a team. And I would also like to welcome all these students, young budding authors who have given up their entries in the registered in the budding author program, and those who have already completed their stories, and their names have been published on the CBSE website as people whose stories have been appreciated. So congratulations to all of them too. It is indeed a great time for us when we can write so much in on subjects that we like, and as budding author has various themes, so we are able to write on many themes, short stories but really nice stories. And I must appreciate all the writers previously also. They have written very well, but then of course there are certain people who write very good, so we have to appreciate them also. So writing a story is like creating your own universe. So this is for all the new registered budding authors. So when you create your universe, you create a universe of your liking. First of all, you are like a god in that universe. You can create characters, you can manipulate characters, you can create your own stories to make some sort of reading adventure for the readers. So I think story writing is one of the most fulfilling work you will ever do in your life, because it brings out everything that is inside you. So for all the new authors, all the best. You please attend all the webinars which are being placed by which are being organized by the CBSE, because in the end you will find yourself much more enriched. And of course, you can ask questions. You can put your questions on the YouTube chat box. So Nima ma'am will be reading those questions and will be placing it to the experts who have joined with us. Because in the end, the more you will learn during these webinars, only then you will be able to write a very good and fruitful stories. We look forward for wonderful stories, wonderful scenarios, wonderful conclusions. So all the best to all the new budding authors. And now it is over to you, Nima. Hello.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We can hear you.
Okay. Nima, it's over to you now.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. And one more thing to add, we Soumya ma'am is with us from Freedom only, so be with us till the end. So she'll be giving you a brief idea about the portal, how to use, how to log in, how to write and submit your stories on the portal. So I think Vasudha ma'am, we can start.
Yes, ma'am, sure.
Yeah, over to you.
All right. Thank you so much. Well, children, welcome you all the lovely budding authors and all wonderful children. Welcome to the world of stories. Stories that are imaginative, stories that are enigmatic, stories that make you wonder, and stories that can transform you to a different universe, to the places beyond your environment. Today, you all will not only dive in the ocean of stories, but you will learn to equip yourself with creative skills to cook up wonderful stories. The stories that you can imagine and the stories that make the readers wonder and go on a different adventure journey. So, first to begin with, I would like to share a slide with you, as I would like you all to look at that picture and think of the words that come to your mind when you see that picture. So, here we go. I hope you all can see the slide. Ma'am, I hope it's visible to everybody.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, all right. So, children, here I would like you all to look at this picture. You can type in the chat box, but I'll just give you a minute for this, and all the things that you can see in the picture, just try to pen down these in your notebooks. As I won't be able to see the chat, I would just prompt what all things we can see. We can see here a princess, a fairy, right? A prince, a castle, dragon, and a witch, right? So here I have a small story where we can have the words ready with us before we cook a fairy tale. Because when we are using these words, then what kind of a story we would really write? Yes, we would write a fairy tale, right? So today, because we are talking about fairy tales, would you all like to actually watch a fairy tale before we start writing down one? I'm going to share a fairy tale with all of you, and I hope you all enjoy watching it for a few minutes. So let's go.
Brightly Storytime presents The Princess and the Pea.
Ma'am, is it audible to everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, great. So the name of the fairy tale is The Princess and the Pea.
By Hans Christian Andersen. Illustrated by Jana Christie. Once upon a time, there was a prince who wanted to marry a princess. But only a real princess would do. He traveled all over the world to find one. Yet everywhere he went, things went wrong. There were plenty of princesses, but how was the prince to know whether they were real princesses?
Yes, and children here, while you all watch this video, while you all watch this story, I want you all to actually figure out whether the princess was real or not by the end of the story.
There was something not quite right about them all. So, the prince returned home quite unhappy, because he would have liked very much to bring back a real princess to meet the king and queen. One evening, a terrible storm struck. Thunder boomed, lightning flashed across the sky, and rain slapped against the castle windows. It really was frightful. In the middle of it all came a knock at the city gate. The old king went to open it. Who should be standing there but a princess? Or so she said. Good gracious! What a sight she was in all that rain and wind. Water ran down her hair and clothes, into her shoes, and out the heels. Yet she claimed to be a real princess. We'll soon find out about that, the old queen thought. Without another word, the queen went straight into the royal guest room, took all the bedding off the bed, and carefully placed one pea on the mattress. Then she took 20 more mattresses and piled them on top of the pea. And then she put 20 feather beds upon the mattresses. Way up on top of these, the princess was to spend the night. The next morning, the queen asked her, "Did you sleep well, my dear?" "Oh," exclaimed the princess, "no, I hardly closed my eyes at all. Heaven only knows what's in that bed. I lay on something so hard that I'm black and blue all over. It was terrible." The queen smiled, the king laughed, and the prince's eyes grew wide. The family could see that the girl was a real princess because she had felt the pea through 20 mattresses and 20 feather beds. No one but a real princess could be as delicate as that. The prince wasted no time in asking her to marry him. for he'd found his real princess at last. As for the pea, it was put in the Royal Museum, where it may still be seen, unless someone has taken it. There, that's a true story.
All right, children. So I hope you all enjoyed watching that fairy tale and how we discovered the king, the queen, and the prince found the real princess, right? So now that you've watched the fairy tale, I would want all of you to think of the words that come to your mind when you think of fairy tales. Like just we discussed in the beginning, there would be a prince, there would be a princess, there would be king, queen, a castle, right? I have a word search for you, which you can use to find out the words that would come to your mind when you think of fairy tales. So here we go. So I hope it's visible. We have to find out the fairy tale words here. And I have some clues for you. The first one goes, the father of the prince or the princess. So that would be a king. A stick, the second one, a stick that can be used to do the spells, because we have fairies, right? In the fairy tales, there can be magical things happening. And then what would help them? That's a magic wand. Yes. The third one, a celestial being with wings. So that's why we have fairy tales, because fairy tales do have fairies, right? And the answer is fairies. The fourth one goes, my father's wife, but not my mother. So sometimes when things don't go well in fairy tales, there can be some problems, there can be some conflicts. Like if you remember the story of Cinderella, that was the stepmother, right? The answer for the fourth one is the stepmother. Fifth is a power that's beyond reality, a power that can be just out of this world, which can help you out, come out of problems. Yes, that is when we say some magic happened, and that's the power is magic. Sixth one says the son of a king, right? The prince. Seventh, the daughter of a king, princess. Eighth one is the wife of a king, that's the queen. And number 9 is a mythical creature that breathes fire. So we do have sometimes in fairy tales, we do have dragons too. And then the 10th one, a brave hero who goes on quests. So all the princes, who would actually be looking for, a very strong and a brave hero, that would be the knight, right? So here, if you actually found a few words here in this puzzle, so here are the answers, as you can see. All right. So children, now before even right now you saw all the words that are related to fairy tales. Now is the time when we start thinking of a prompt of a story and we start cooking up a story. But before we do that, we should also be aware of the essential elements, right? That stories are made of. So all stories comprise of 5 basic elements. And if you can just count them on your fingers, there would be, the first one is characters. So every story would have characters, right? And who are characters? Characters are the people or animals who are there in the story, right? So they are the ones, the story revolves around the characters. Number 2 is setting. Now, what's setting? Setting is the place where the story takes place. Now, if it is for fairy tales, you would definitely have castles. Then the third one is the problem. And this is the most important one, because without a problem, you cannot have a great story. So problem could be a conflict that the character would go through. Like if the character wishes to fulfill certain want, he's not able to do that. Or there could be some, mishappening. There could be some problem. Now, after that comes solutions. So here is when the authors really need to brainstorm and think of good solutions for the story, wherein the character is seen to struggle with the problem and to be innovative enough to find out some good solution for the story. When you all are done with all these 4 elements, we have the plot, which would basically comprise of all important elements in a story, all important events in a story, right? So that would basically have the structure of the story. Like whenever you pen down a story, make sure that the story is well organized, it has a good structure, it has a good beginning, then a middle, and then the end. So the beginning of the story would usually have, the introduction of the characters and the setting, and sometimes what, yes, and definitely what the character would want to have in this, right, in the story. Then comes the middle part. In the middle part, what will you write? In the middle part will come the problem and how the character, tries to struggle with the problem and how he would, find a way out of the problem. So then by the end of this, middle part of the story, you are going to think of a turning point where the story is now going to go down, like looking for a solution. And in the end of the story, you would have a solution and you would have a happy ending. Sometimes you can also think of different endings. We could take it up some other time, but usually all would love to, read happy endings to the story. So I hope you are done. You've understood all the five basic elements that are very essential for the stories. They are the good foundation for your stories. So whenever you're writing a story, make sure that you have checked out for all these elements, right? Now we're going to move one step further where we are going to actually start, writing our own story. And because we are talking about fairy tales today, so what better prompt than a fairy tale prompt, right? So let's go. All right, as you all can see my screen, I'm sharing here a fairy tale prompt with you. I will be reading out this for you. So let's create a fairy tale. Let's understand the beginning here. Once upon a time, in a kingdom far away, there lived a little princess. So if you can see a little princess there, right? And she lived in a castle with her mother, the queen, and her father, the king. So the princess was very happy with the parents, right? But the princess was very lonely. Everyone loved her a lot, but there were no children in the castle. She had no one to play with. The princess spent her whole day sitting in her room alone and playing with her dolls. And all she ever wished for was a friend. So one day, now this is where, you've understood the beginning here. If we just look at the elements of the story, we can see that the characters here, the ones we know, are the princess, right, and the king and the queen. Now there's a problem in the story, and if you try to think of the problem of the story, you can type also in the chat box. Yes, the problem is that the princess was very lonely, right? And what did she want in the story? All she ever wished for was a friend, or maybe many friends, right? So here, now we are going to understand a strategy that would help you write a good story or write a nice ending for the story, right? So here we go. Please do have a look at this. You need to understand this. This is KWL chart, which means know, want to know, or learn. If I just try to decode this for you, K means what you already know, right? So because if you get a story prompt, first you need to think about what you already know about the story. And what we already know is
starting the workshop in 5 minutes. We have a technical glitch, so our expert will be joining in sometime.
Vasudha ma'am is joining, okay? She was speaking, she couldn't understand, it has stopped.
Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah.
Hello, ma'am. Am I visible?
Yeah,
Yes,
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All right, all
visible.
right. Really sorry for the disruption. I didn't just get to know I was just going
So
on.
it was not from your side, ma'am. You can start from the slide where you were reading that story, that end
Yeah.
was
Yes,
mentioned.
yes, yes.
You
I'll
can
just
just
go
repeat
back.
that part and start from there. No problem. All is
Yes,
good.
yes, yes. All right, all right. Uh, how do I expand this video window? Um, ma'am is, yeah. Sorry. Okay. Oh, 1 minute. Yeah, ma'am, is the slide visible to everybody?
Yes, yes.
All right, all right. Really sorry, children, for this. Yeah. So I would again read out the slide, the prompt for you, right? So here goes the prompt. Yes, because I was saying we are talking about fairy tales, as a prompt also would be for a fairy tale. Once upon a time, in a kingdom far away, there lived a little princess. So here, all right. So there lived a little princess. Yes, with her parents, like she lived in a castle with her mother, the queen, and her father, the king. But the princess was very lonely. Everyone loved her a lot, but there were no children in the castle. The princess spent her whole day sitting in her room alone and playing with her dolls. All she ever wished for was a friend, right? So here is the prompt, and if we again look at the elements of the story, so we need to understand here who are the characters in the story. So first we can see that the characters are the princess and then the king and the queen. And if we find out the problem in the story, yes, the problem is that the princess was very lonely because she had nobody to play with. Maybe she didn't even have siblings to play with in the castle, right? And then comes, the solution. So we are going to look for, we are going to find out the solution that will help us write down our story. Before we start writing down, I have a strategy for you that can help you pen down the story. Besides understanding the elements of the stories, you can use this KWL chart. So if you see here, KWL, now let's decode this. What does it mean? KWL basically is a strategy where if you look forward to K would mean like what do we already know? After reading the prompt, what are the things that we know about the story? We now know that there's a princess and we know that there king and queen are there. Fine. And we also know that the princess is sad. She does play with dolls. Everybody loves her. But she has a problem that she's lonely and she wants friends to play with. Right. Now I am here in the middle of the story as we all are stuck up here in the middle where we want to know like what is going to happen in the story, or we want to know like how will she get friends. For this particular part, we are going to think of some questions which are going to pop up in our mind right now and which will further help us to write down the solution. So here I have one, question as where are the children? I mean, that is what I'm thinking right now. I hope you all also would be thinking, where are all the children? Why doesn't she have children, to play with? One probably probable answer that yes, she doesn't even have siblings, right, to play with. Then you need to think of more questions. And I would like to give you all 1 minute to write down at least one or two questions that right now, are popping in your head right now that will further help us. So please take a minute and pen down at least one or two questions. All right. as I won't be able to see the chat here. So I have a few questions that are right now running in my mind. Like, would she actually get friends to play with? And if she will get friends, like where will the friends come from? Or probably who will help the princess? Who's going to help the princess here? So I'm thinking about all these questions in my mind. And then even if the friends would come, would they play with the princess? Would she be happy in the end? So these questions, right now, I'm thinking about these questions. And before we start writing the prompt here, the ending, so you can see here, I have certain questions for our help, like who helps the princess to get friends? Now, this question I feel is very important. Why? Because when we need to, write the story and when we are about to complete a story, what we can do is in the story elements, we can introduce a character. So here, because the princess is helpless, right? She has nobody to help her. Like if we think about the story of Cinderella, so one time she was helpless, right? There was nobody to help her when she wanted to go to the ball. Who came at that time? And yes, because it's about fairy tales, we can have fairy godmother, we can have fairies, right? Who would come and help the princess. And then this is what like I will be doing and what I have thought of is to create or to introduce a new character in this story. Then, how many friends does the princess get? So this you can think of, and then where do the friends come from? I mean, would they come from nowhere, or would they somebody send them? Who would come? Some courtiers would get their children. Like so many things would come in your mind. But then now, why would they become friends with the princess, and how does the princess make them stay with her? Well, take a minute to think about the answers, to think about, to imagine, to create certain responses in your mind, like when you wear your creative magic hat, it will actually give you certain responses and certain ideas. So what I have thought of, like I feel that everyone would have a different ending, right? Everyone is going to think differently, and we all can create our own imaginative and incredible endings. But one that I have thought of, I would just like to read out that for you. So I feel that the story goes, it moves ahead. Like one day, the princess was playing with her dolls when she started feeling lonely and sad again. And she sat in a very pensive mood. She sat and she started praying to God earnestly to grant her a friend to play with. As tears rolled down her eyes, she just saw, a bright light emerge out of nowhere in front of her. She was just rubbing her eyes and trying to see when she saw a beautiful fairy manifest in front of her with a wonderful sparkling magic wand in her hands. And then, so the fairy said, "My dear child, you look so sad. I feel you so lovely. Please make a wish. I would like to answer your wish." And then there's a smile on the princess' face, and she says, "Oh, yes, dear fairy, I'm so lonely. I really want to have friends to play with. Can you help me?" pleaded the princess. And then the fairy goes, abracadabra, swoosh. She spells, right, her magic wand. So there she saw a few friends, not just one, but she saw a few friends standing in front of her. And all those friends had bright eyes and, smile lit faces. They all looked so lovely. And there we could see the princess' face gleaming with joy. She was elated to have found lovely friends to play with. And then, well, I'm just stopping this screen here. Yeah, so she was so happy to see those friends in front of her. And all that she could do at that time was just be grateful and thank, the fairy. She expressed her gratitude and she said, "Thank you, fairy, for helping me out." And the fairy said, she blessed her further and said that every day those friends would come to her house and play with her for an hour or two in the evening, and then they would disappear. So they would come for some time, for 2 hours to play with, and she was very happy with that. So she had all the lovely toys and the dolls and things to play with. So that's how the princess found her friends for her life, and she lived happily ever after. Well, that was the story ending. I mean, I thought of. I believe you all can think of even better and wonderful story endings. So this is how today, what we have actually understood is, so when we are thinking of a story, when we have to write a story, we first need to, well, we have to spin a tale. So we have to first think. We need to have ideas in our mind. We need to understand, what, if we have the prompt, we need to really understand the prompt well. And if you're actually thinking of a new story, then we need to think about, certain situations, certain themes. We need to think about the characters, the settings, and some interesting problems in the story, right? So we need to use other strategies also. We might take up, some other time, certain strategies which would help you write better. But first step is to have an idea. So I hope you all love this idea, and I hope you all enjoyed watching the fairy tale, and even, creating a different fairy tale or a story ending with me. I hope you really liked it. Thank you so much. And yes, if you would like to see the princess happy with her friends, so I have princess and, happy friends there. So I believe we all love friends. So this is all what you all ever wish for, right? Friends are so dear and so special in everybody's lives. So this was what the fairy tale was all about, the princess and her journey of finding her friends. And thanks to yes, the fairy. All right. Thank you so much, children, dear children. I hope you all enjoyed it. Yeah, hello, ma'am. I'm done. Hello, Shivangi. Can you all see me?
Yes, we can, Vasudha.
All right. Yeah. I was thinking, because nobody is visible, so I was just wondering. Yeah. Yeah, thank you, ma'am. From my side, I've just, given a brief about the story writing. Yeah, so I'm sorry, I'm repeating again, like I've done with the story, I'm done with it. And I hope, children, you all enjoyed, you all understood how you all can write the stories by using or by understanding the elements of the stories, and even using that KWL chart. That would really help. And even if I ask you in the end what you learned from, like the L part, KWL, the L. So what you learned, in the end, we all learned that the princess, she found her friends, and there was a fairy who helped her, and she was happy in the end. So this is what, our KWL chart is also complete. And then also we have worked on all the elements are there in the story, and that's it. We have finished our story. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Vasudha ma'am, for an amazing story. We hope our little kids enjoyed this session. Nima ma'am, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Vasudha, ma'am.
Alright.
Thank you so much. And I'll hope they will get something from this webinar, and it will help them to, in the journey of their story writing. Right. So thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the opportunity.
Now I ask Soumya ma'am to join in and please give the brief about the portal, ma'am, to the students, how to use and how to log into the portal.
Thank you, Nima ma'am. Hello, everybody. My name is Soumya. I work for the product team. So I will take you through the entire Budding Authors platform, where all of you would be logging in and you would be writing your stories. So let me quickly share my screen. I hope my screen is visible to all of you. So you will log into the CBSE Budding Authors platform. Yes. So if you look at this, the link is going to be shared with all of you, and you will go to the link that is shared. Once you are on that particular link, as you can see in this, you will be asked for your username and password. This will also be shared with you by your school. And once you enter your username, you will enter your password and you will click on login. Once this is done, you will be asked for a book name. So once you have decided what story you are writing, you would give your story a title and you will enter that title as your book name, right? And then once this is done, you will click on start writing and you're all set to write your story. So if you look at this, the next screen, this is where you will be writing your stories. I will also show you the platform once. I will log in myself to the platform and show it to you as well. But this is how you're going to write. So on the top left corner, if you see, you can see the name of the story that you're given, right? The book title that you had written at the beginning, that will come up here. You will be able to enter your story or write your story in the text box that is there, and then you will be able to save your progress. Please ensure you save your progress every now and then so that you do not lose the part of the story that you have already written. Right? So write your story, keep saving it every now and then, ensure that you meet the word count limit that is set for your particular grade. Write the story, keep saving it, and then once you're fully done, once your story is all set to go, please click on the submit icon that you see at the top, and then you can close. Once you click on submit, there is no going back. So please ensure you submit your story only when you have completed writing the entire story and you're very happy with it. Only then please submit. Until then, you can use the save button that you see on the screen and you can submit. Your story could be in English or it could be in Hindi. So let me again share the actual portal once with you so that you can see that and you can understand how exactly you have to log into the portal. Oops, sorry. Yes. So now you will be getting the link shared with each of you from your school. You will enter your sorry about that, just give me 1 second. Yes, so it was not letting me share because it was a page where I had to enter my credentials. So I will share another screen now. Yes, I hope. So you will get the link to it from your school, and then once you get it, you will come here. You will log into the portal using the username and password that you get from the school, and then you will enter a story name. Right? You will be asked for the book name. So you will enter the book name. It could be anything. I mean, decide on your story and decide on a very good book name so that your title creates that first impression. Enter the book name, click on start writing. Will be taken to a screen like this. So on this, you can see at the left top corner, you have your book name, right? If you feel that you have your book name at any point in time, click on the pencil icon or the edit icon next to the book name, and you can enter a new name to your book, right? And then in this white box that you see, white text box, you can start writing the story that you want. Yes, and then you can beautify it using the options that are there for text formatting on the top. You can change the font, you can change the size of the font section that you see on the top where you see my mouse move. And then you can see the word count on the top right. So for this particular grade that I have up to 900 words, so it will show you the word count, ensure word count. And then once you are thank you so much for staying with us on understanding the way the platform works. I hope all of you have a very great story writing experience. You want to add anything?
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thanks a lot for joining us. Yes, I really hope it's really help our students in the writing and submission of their stories. So thanks a lot, and we will be meeting in the next webinar that is on 21st. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.